Let's go!
Good morning,
Good morning,
Overflow.
Good morning.
We are so excited that you joined us this morning. Today is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. I'm
Yes.
excited to be in the house of the Lord one more time. Are you, Tasha?
Yes, I am super excited. super excited. We could never take for granted that from one day to the next that we will be here. So we are excited that it's Sunday and we here yet another time.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think it was awesome to be here today. I think that there's so much happening in the world right now that we're just excited to be in this place. And I was thinking about everything that was going on, and the I have decided kind of came to my mind about
wow, okay.
who will decide to be the change that we need in this world. And I thought about when you look in the mirror, it's like I was reflected back to think of the Michael Jackson song about the man in the mirror.
Wow.
And it's like, I
awesome.
think that this is a time for us to
Yes.
really look at the man in the mirror
Yes.
and see what we can do, one person at a time,
Yes.
to
Yes.
change the world.
Yes, we should decide that not only does our voice matter, but we will express ourselves in this situation, that we will not allow the enemy to keep us quiet because we feel like we don't have enough experience or we don't have enough to say. Because we have life, because we have breath, then that gives you the experience to say that every life matters.
Every life matters.
Yeah.
And even during this Black Lives Matter movement
Yes.
right now, it's like I can remember about 4 years ago when this first came about, and it's like I started to think about how God strategically aligns things
Wow.
at his timing,
Yes.
you know, and it was like
You
he
better talk
uses
about it.
he
Yes.
uses a person to just initiate it, and then it just keeps the movement just keeps going from one
Yes.
person to the next.
Yes.
And I thought about George Floyd, and I thought about his purpose, and I thought about he went from South Carolina to Houston to Minnesota for his purpose to be fulfilled.
Yes.
And that was in death.
Wow.
But it was like when you text me last night that I was
Wow.
like, wow.
Yeah, he had, and the awesome thing was to hear his baby girl said, "My daddy changed the world."
Right.
It's like, wow, you
Wow,
just don't
yeah.
know what life will take you from to. And his to was to change the world.
To change the world.
To change the world.
And how God uses the least of us
Yeah.
to do extraordinary
Yes,
things in the world.
yes.
My mind has just been blown all
Yeah.
week, just ravishing, I guess, in the glory of God.
Yes.
And the way that he does things. It's never the way we think
No.
that we would do it. It's
No,
always
no.
a move to where nobody can say, oh, I did that or he did that. It's like, it's undisputable that
Yeah.
God did this.
Yes, and it's amazing how I'm still in awe of Pastor's message a few weeks ago about the 7 languages of devotion.
Right.
And unity was
Yes.
one of the languages
Yeah.
of devotion. And so to see all these different states and all of these different cities and all of these countries come together in unity, and
Yeah.
not only in unity, but he said a mission.
A mission.
And our mission is to make sure that every person understands the importance of Black Life Mattering.
Yes. And I think that sometimes when we think about it, because I've been reading the different comments on Facebook and different social media pages, and I was under the impression after reading the comments that people still just don't get it. You know, it's like, of course, all lives matter,
Yeah.
but right now, the Black life is what matters because it is been portrayed as a life that's not worth anything.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
the whole message is that Black lives do matter. We do have value, you know. And I think that even when I was listening to a couple of pastors debate this or talk about this online this week, it's never about like we want special treatment.
No.
We just want to be treated equal under the same laws that's afforded to everybody else.
Exactly.
You know, if you're a
Exactly.
criminal, yeah, you should go to jail. We're not saying you shouldn't go to jail,
Yeah.
but we should not be tried, like judged and tried and killed and executed on the side of the street.
Exactly.
We should be given the same respect under the due process of the law to be afforded those same things that
Exactly.
innocent until
So
proven guilty.
It's amazing how you say that the same rules should apply, right? I was listening to an excerpt from Whoopi Goldberg, and she was talking about her stance against the taking a knee. And she was explaining how not only did her father serve in the military in World War I or World War II, but her grandfather also served in World War I and World War II. So they were a part of the military, but guess what? They couldn't vote. So I can serve for this country, but do I have the same rights as the other people that were serving with me in this country at that time? And that was to vote. So no, we didn't have the same rights. So yes, guess what? Now we're demanding
The
We're
same
demanding.
equal rights.
Yes.
And I was thinking about, like, even when Drew Brees mentioned the fact that his father and his forefathers or grandfathers had served this country, I thought about my dad fought in the war even during segregation, and when he came home, he still was not due the same respect as some other veterans. He still had to go to the back of the building to order food, or he still had to ride in the back of the bus, or he didn't get the process or use the Pell Grant at that time, just like all the other soldiers that came home from the war. So all of our fathers and our grandfathers and our forefathers have fought, but did we get the same level of respect that we were supposed to get when we got back to this country? And it was like I heard this morning, it said, we're the only race that was never invited here. We were never invited. We were forced to come here and to be a slave, but we were never invited. We were the only race that was never invited, and I thought that was pretty powerful.
Yes.
But it's like we want you to use the hashtag today, Black Lives Matter, on the live feed, because that is what we were going to be discussing today. We have an amazing panel that's going to be presented today. That's going to talk about some of the things that is going on in the world. We went out and marched. Protested with the city of Houston and the Floyd family early this week. It was a peaceful protest.
Awesome.
It was just a calmness in the air when we marched that day, and it was just an amazing solitude of unity.
Yes, that's what it was. That is exactly what it was. And that's what this country needs. We need to have unity on all fronts, not just on one front, not in just one community, but in all communities. We should stand for unity. I was actually listening to a video, and it was posted by Kimberly Jones. I don't know her personally, but Kimberly Jones says, we're not standing for revenge. We just want equality. That's all. We just want equality. It's not about tearing down the cities and causing more havoc or causing havoc. It's about just standing in protest for equality, which is something that's long overdue.
Yeah. And even with you saying that, it's like you were talking about, Pastor talking about the 7 languages of devotion. And I thought about that. It was like, even though I don't condone rioting and, destroying property and that kind of thing, but when you have oppressed a group of people for so long that you're never listening to them, that was the language that they spoke that they thought that people would understand.
Exactly.
It's like, now you see my frustration that I'm doing this, even though it's wrong, but this is the language that I have to use in order to get your attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That is so awesome. And now I'm led to another one, his devotion, sticking it out. We need to, at this point where we are, move forward to the next point. We still have more movements to make, more places to go, more voices still need to be heard. So we still need to stick it out. We still need to make sure that this protest continues until it reaches the end.
Until we see change.
Until we see change.
So use that hashtag today too, change.
Change. Yes.
Hashtag change. Be the change.
Be the change.
Yeah.
Be
So
the
on a
change.
lighter note, we're so excited that we just finished our first round of our Rise groups. Come on, we
Yes.
need to give it up
All
for that.
Rise
Let me
leaders
see a
can
whole
just
bunch of
breathe.
hearts
Yes.
and likes
Yes.
on the Facebook page. because those Rise groups were amazing.
Awesome,
I mean, I
awesome.
saw people that host Rise groups that came out of their shell, that shared things, that was being transparent,
Yes.
and that people were being changed.
Yes,
and people
exactly.
felt like they had a voice to even express themselves during the Rise groups that we
Yes.
had. And we're taking a pause this week, and then we're gonna start our Rise groups back up next week. So you still have time if you want to be a Rise host.
Yes.
Just email us at info, that's info at theoverflowchurch.org, and we'll get you plugged in so that you can become a Rise host group
Yes.
leader.
Yes,
Rise
exactly.
host group leader.
And
right?
whatever your topic is, just make sure that it's one that is relatable. And once you make it relatable, everybody will get involved. If it's your crowd is crocheting, if your crowd is exercising, if your crowd, whatever your crowd is, don't put your crowd in a box. Take it out of the box. You can do whatever you want to do.
And I think just if there's anything that you want to share about your feelings of what's going on in the world, that could be an excellent Rise group. Yeah. So if you're frustrated and you feel like, hey, you know what, my voice matters and I want to be able to express and I want to build a platform for other people to be able to express what they're feeling, then we want you to join in and become a Rise group host. You do not have to be a member of the Overflow Church, amen.
Nope,
you don't even have to live in the state of Texas. You can be in California and Japan and Virginia, wherever you are, to host a Rise group. You don't have to be here. It's just a platform that we built to build community so that people can join together and have resources of feeling that they belong in a group, that people are supporting them and loving on them.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. If you want to entitle that one, Enough is Enough. And
Enough is enough. I like
enough
that.
is
Yeah,
enough. Yeah,
enough is
and
enough.
that way people can come in and express their feelings without feel like they're being judged. Just sometimes we just want somebody to hear us. And that is a great platform to just be heard. And so all of our Rise groups are just for us to come alongside and just iron sharpens iron, build somebody up in the community so that way they feel the need to build up somebody else in the community.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to go to our worship. Come on, Overflow
Whoop,
Worship
whoop.
is in the house. We are excited for you to
Yes.
join us. Remember to share this experience. It's going to be awesome. Share it, and put your comments. We want to even know what you're feeling, even at this time. Just type it in the comment. Here we go, Overflow Worship.
Woo! Come on, somebody lift up your hands. Come on, begin to worship Jesus. Come on, let's celebrate him. Let's exalt his name all over the world. As we stand in freedom, we shout the great name of Jesus. Here we go.
I want to sing a little louder than before. I want to jump a little higher than before. I want to scream a little louder than before. Everybody say freedom, freedom. your hands. We're free. No more shackles, no more chains, no more bondage. We're free. I'm free.
Oh my God. Any free folk out there? Oh, come on, all the free folk ought to make some noise.
Freedom!
Oh man, I'm
Yes.
free. I'm free.
Yes,
He
yes.
whom the Son has set free is free indeed.
Yes.
Man, somebody ought to be celebrating God
Woo.
right
Thank
now
you,
that
Father.
you are free. You're free
Yes.
in your mind. You're free in your spirit. You're free in your relationship with Jesus Christ.
Yes.
Somebody ought to thank God that you
you,
are
God. Thank you,
free.
Lord.
It's a good day to be free. Y'all
Yes,
agree?
it is.
It's a good
awesome
day. It's a good day to
awesome
be
day.
free.
It's an
Thank
awesome
God
day.
that we are all free.
Yeah.
We are free. Now the crazy thing about it, we're still fighting for some freedom in some areas.
Wow.
But in most areas, we've recognized, especially spiritually,
We're
that
free.
we are free.
Awesome.
Our relationship with Jesus
Yes.
is now free. Look, and maybe you're out there and you're saying, well, I don't know what that feels like. Look, receive Jesus today. If you receive him now, if you confess your sins and invite him into your heart, my friend, freedom enters your body immediately. It enters your soul
Awesome.
immediately. Glory to God. It's giving time here at the Overflow. Oh man, I know y'all excited to give. I know y'all excited to give. We're challenging you today. For those who have not been given, those who have said, well, you know, we're at home and we're in this whole church quarantine thing, and you know, I'm gonna hold on to my little money right now. Look, I'm challenging you right now that you continue to be faithful, or how about the word devoted
Wow,
to
there we go.
God
There we go. There we
in
go.
the area of giving. God has challenged each of us to bring our tithe into the storehouse. And I'm challenging you right now, wherever you are, wherever you're watching us from, especially our Overflow family, we are challenging you to be faithful to God in the scripture where it says, bring ye the whole tithe into the storehouse. Now, I hear somebody already saying, well, I'm not there. How can I bring it? There are so many ways that you can bring it. Technology has afforded us different ways, you know, to bring our tithe. It's on the screen. You know, you can text 5424440, give 54244. Tell them other ways that they can give. Help me out.
You can also give by going to our website at theoverflowchurch.org, click on the give button, and then you can submit your giving there. It's there through our texting platform and our website, and then you can even mail it to us at 7355 McCoy Road, Manville, Texas 77578. You can find that information on the website as well.
Amen. There are no excuses for us not being faithful to God.
And watch your faithfulness brings your financial freedom.
What? You need to say
Talk
that
about
again.
that.
You need to
Watch
say
your
that.
faithfulness bring your financial freedom. You better talk about
God,
it.
my
Yes,
God. Look,
yes.
watch your faithfulness bring financial freedom.
Yes.
And most
There
of
we go.
us are asking for financial freedom. We're praying about it
Yes,
and we're
yes,
fasting.
yes.
God says it starts with your faithfulness
Watch
and your bringing. And Tasha said, if you do that, watch. In other words, you can take a seat and get ready for what's to come. Oh my
Yes,
gosh. What you
yes,
say, overflow?
Overflow.
Is it anybody out there that's looking for an overflow?
Yes.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm looking for an
overflow.
overflow. I'm
Yes,
expecting
yes,
an
yes.
overflow
Drown
in this
me
season.
in finances.
Drown
Drown
me
me
in
in
drown.
financial
Look, I
freedom.
said a few weeks ago that God is about to give somebody so much until you're going to have to ask him to stop.
Yeah.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Wow.
Is that anybody that's that can say, man, that's for me right
That's
there?
for
Just
me.
look, wave your
That's for
hand
me.
in the air like they would say,
That's
you know,
for
back in
me.
the day. Wave your hand in the air and wave it like you just don't
That
care.
is for
If
me.
that's really for you, yeah. Somebody shout, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, oh my God. Look, I'm excited today. We're excited.
Yes.
We're fired up about what God is doing here at the Overflow Church and this whole Rise City movement and all of the things that God is doing, you know, even in our world and in our country. Sometimes, you know, it takes tragics and tragedy before God can move in a direction he
Yes.
wants to really move. And we have to understand that anytime that God is getting ready to bless something
Ooh, you better
or
talk about
somebody, there's always going to be an issue that proceeds the blessing that God is sending. And so, look, baby, you're saying, well, even in my giving, Pastor, you know, I've been wanting to give. I've been trusting God. Maybe I have been giving, but I haven't been seeing. You know, Pastor, I've been seeing all kind of stuff break loose. Guess what? that's an indication that God is about to move on your behalf. Man, I'm telling you, I can tell you from my own life, I can tell you from scripture that anytime God blesses somebody, there will always be an obstacle and always be trials before the blessing comes. Oh man, y'all remember Job? When God got ready to bless Job, Job didn't even sign up for the blessing, but God signed him up. And then after he had gone through all of the hell that he went through, the Bible says that when Job forgave his friends, oh man, that's a word out there for some community right there. You need to start forgiving some folk, that you upset with, somebody taught you something that don't even matter, that is not even true, and you're mad with them. Look, if you'll forgive them, God says, I will open up the floodgates of heaven and pour down blessings you don't have room enough to receive.
Amen.
Man.
Amen.
Oh my God.
Amen.
Look, so I know you're giving. I know you have had chance by now to text and to, write your checks out, and however you determine in your hearts and your mind to give. And so we want to give you that moment. In fact, if you're giving like we're giving, or on your smart device, I want you to lift that thing up high. We're going to make a declaration, as we always do, even when we're live here in the sanctuary. We're going to make a declaration today that the Lord is about to change your situation financially. I'm telling you, I believe, oh man, I told y'all, if y'all recall, coming into the year 2020, I told y'all that there was about to be a reversal. Oh man, a lot of us are seeing it right now. Yeah, we're seeing a reversal. Yeah. Some people have been shifted to the back that were at the front, and God is repositioning some other folk and bringing them to the front. There are some folks still saying, it's me, Pastor, I'm waiting. He says, don't worry, I see you. Oh man, you don't even qualify for what I'm getting ready to do. You don't have the skills, man, you don't have the degree, but I'm getting ready to turn some things around. You ain't gonna even be able to explain what God is about to do, but I'm telling you, there's about to be a reversal, oh my God, in somebody's life as I speak the truth of God. Glory to God. Come on, lift your seed high, and I want you to repeat after me with your seed lifted with your own mouth. Father God, I thank you today. For this seed. I'm giving today, God. Because I trust you. And I know. That you will meet my needs. Meet all my needs. According to your riches. In Jesus' name. Amen. Come on, y'all. I know you're giving. We're getting ready to go back to our worship team. Y'all ought to get excited as to what the Lord is about to do in this place. We're going higher.
Hallelujah. Victory belongs to Jesus. That's in every area of our life. He is exalted. He is lifted. His name is glorified. And he is our victor. So we sing this song. Who will stand against the Lord? No one can. No one. Stand against our King. No one can. No one will. Victory belongs to Jesus. Victory belongs to him. Jesus, the victory belongs to him. Who can stand? Who can stand against the Lord? No one can. No one can. No one will. No one will. And who can stand against our King? Who can stand against the King? Nobody can. No one can. glory. The victory belongs to Jesus. Hallelujah.
For hundreds of years, the African American community has faced discrimination, racism, and classism in the United States. From slavery to the Three-Fifths Compromise to Jim Crow, we have been treated as less than human beings. Anger, frustration, heartbreak, and outrage has welled up in the African American community. Following the untimely death of George Floyd, cities all over the world took to the streets to allow their voices to be heard. No longer will one race be subjected to scrutiny, police brutality, and racism from other cultures. The world has reached what we may know as the precipice of change. Let your voice be heard.
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody out there that's watching us from around the world? First, I want to say thank God for you for tuning in today from wherever you're watching us. I know people are watching us from in our city locally, but also nationally. I know people are watching us all around the world. And so today I want to welcome you. If you hadn't felt welcome yet, I wanted to take a moment to welcome you to this experience. I know you see now that it doesn't look like a typical Sunday as I would normally stand with the podium here present on the platform. But today you see a panel of individuals because I don't believe that it's right for a pastor or a preacher to just preach but not deal with real life scenarios, not deal with actual facts that take place on a day-to-day basis. And in fact, not to be talking about or discussing the things that we're facing in our nation right now. So for those of you who just needed a title, today we're going to talk about I Can't Breathe. How about that? I can't breathe. We're going to talk about that today. I have a panel of individuals who I consider friends who've taken out of their busy schedule to come hang out with us today. Let me introduce them briefly. I won't get into detail, but I will introduce them briefly. First, I have, to my right, I have Essence Felder.
Hi, guys.
Essence Felder. Then to my right, I have attorney Brian Overstreet.
Hello.
Awesome, awesome. And then I have, to my far right, I have Rayshard Jones. Awesome.
How y'all doing?
Awesome, awesome. And then I have the president of the Brazoria County NAACP, Mr. Eugene Howard.
No justice, no peace.
Amen. And then across from me, far across from me, I have my brother and my friend, a young man, Andre Felder. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna get started today. We're gonna dive right in. We had another individual who was supposed to sit here with us today, but we got a text a few moments ago that he couldn't make it. I'll dive into that a little bit later as we kind of, get into our thoughts on what's going on today. The first question I want to pose the first question That question is, and we'll just kind of go down the line, or I'll maybe point you guys out, because I do have some specific questions for, each of you. So we'll just kind of go down the line. What are your thoughts on what's going on in the world today with injustice, racism, racial profiling, and even police brutality? I'll start with you, Essence.
Well, I think right now people are tired and they're exhausted of fighting and trying, and it's just a revolution at this point. We're tired of police brutality, we're tired of racism, and the back and forth is like, it's so controversial to be black, which is crazy. Like, I just cannot live, like, without you pushing back at me for the color of my skin. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be controversial. Like, black people are saying, can I live? And people are saying, but. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean, but?
Yeah.
I'm just asking to breathe. That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my thoughts.
Okay. Ray Shaw, I'm going to jump across the attorney here. Ray Shaw, won't you chime in on that as well?
For a while now, I've seen a lot of unrest within our community. Being in college there, watching the Trayvon Martin case and Sandra Bland, that happened in Texas. And we came together in our college community to speak out, to protest, to let our president be aware of how we're feeling as a student body. And in that same regard, we're doing the same thing right now in the city of Houston and all around the world, and we're tired. We're lethargic. And that didn't set in just overnight. It's been hundreds of years leading up until this point. But you have a generation of people that are saying now, no longer will we be subjected to these things that our ancestors have experienced, but we're going to fight for our justice and fight for our freedom. We're not going to be passive anymore. Yeah. So that's why you see the rioting, you see the looting. Some of those things are not a part of what we're standing for, but we understand as a people why these things are happening.
Absolutely.
But the unrest has caused, these marching and these protests.
Absolutely. Andre, why don't you chime in on this?
I was listening to your question. You said at the end, today. This didn't start today. This started as we got off of boats. This started as they put chains on our wrists and chains on our ankles. This started long before when we were in fields picking cotton. This has been starting for the longest of time, and it's gotten to this point where we say, now we're done. Yeah. Now it's come to a point where we have said, it's finished, we're done, bowing down, we're done, talking. This generation is about action. This generation is now, we gonna take action into our hands. Like Rashad said, yes, some of the looting and some of the rioting, yes, we don't stand for that, but we do understand because we're angry.
Yeah.
We've been oppressed for so long, and for what? We have contributed, some of our people have contributed to the things that we have today, to the things that we use today. Inventors, from them to pastors, to everything. We have contributed to a long reign, and you still oppress us for what reason?
Yeah. Wow, that is good. We are still oppressed after all of these years, after all that we've gone through as a people. We are still, living the way we're living. Now, I want to add something before I move on. I want to add something. You said you don't agree with the looting and, the riots. And, well, I want to add, I don't agree with it as well. But I do understand that sometimes you got to speak a language that people understand. I mean, the truth of the matter is sometimes people don't understand when you've done what they've tried to control you to do, to tell you how you should respond and how you should act and how you shouldn't act. But I do agree that sometimes the only way, and my mama taught me this, my daddy wasn't in the house, possibly for reasons like we're dealing with right now. But my mama taught me sometimes you gotta speak the language they understand. And I don't agree with it, but at the end of the day, sometimes hitting somebody in the mouth is the only thing they understand. And I'm just being real. I know I'm a pastor. Pastor Pat, you said that? Yes, because, and I don't mean physically all the time. Let me clear that up, because sometimes you can hit folk in the mouth with intellect. You know what I'm saying? And so you have to know how at the right time to do the right thing so that you get people to understand what it is, that they need to understand. Street, why don't you help me? Attorney Overstreet, why don't you help me with that question? The question was what we're dealing with as far as injustice, racism, racial profiling, police brutality, from your standpoint.
I guess for me, as one of the older people on the panel, I sit in a unique space. My parents grew up, they were teenagers in the 50s, and so I was kind of raised with that, that slant and understanding of history. And I was just sitting here thinking, like, we're talking about, it was 8 decades ago when Emmett Till went through the same thing, essentially that George Floyd went through, and Ahmaud Arbery went through. So here we are 8 decades later, and he was, killed for reckless eyeballing, I think, as they said, looking, at a white woman.
Wow.
And here we are, 80 years later, going through the same thing. And I remember when I was the younger people's age was right around the time where the Rodney King situation happened.
Absolutely.
So you're talking about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And these guys, they didn't kill him, but the running joke was, all we got to do is show the video.
Absolutely.
Well, as it turns out, that wasn't all we had to do.
Right.
And they walked not guilty. So I think a lot of the looting and the protesting that people are doing, they're right. They're tired. We're tired of it.
Yeah.
But I also think we've got to take a systematic approach, and it's going to start for us at the polls.
Yeah.
Okay, the protesting, the rioting, all of that is good, but truthfully, we've done that. Where we've got to make a difference, in my opinion, is in our local, our state, and our national voting in those races.
Absolutely.
Because we've got to get some lawmakers in these places that look like us, that understand us, and what we've gone through, and how to affect change. So while I'm all on board, because you're right, you got to get their attention.
Absolutely.
So I think we got their attention. So now we got to make some changes of who is representing us in Austin, in DC, and in those places.
Absolutely. So same question for you.
Thank you, Mr. Overstreet. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you for all the panelists that being here. I guess I would just piggyback off of what he said as in regards to what everyone said. First, Dr. King so eloquently spoke in 67 and 65 that the riots are the language of the unheard,
right,
or the voice of the unheard. So while everyone's frustrated, like Pastor said, sometimes energy must be met with a certain type of energy for it to correlate, right? Not that anyone condones looting and burning, but like I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna say burn, baby, burn. I'm gonna say build, baby, build. We gotta organize. Like he said, it comes back to November. Now, one thing, we're 13 days into this protest.
Yeah.
I want to know, to those looking out there, to the panelists here, the first major boycott, the first major civil rights victory in this country was what? It was the Montgomery Boys bus boycott. So people ask, wow, we get the good story of Rosa Parks. You make it feel like it lasted 30 days. She got arrested. Everyone got mad. They changed the law. No, people must understand they boycotted the busing system, which was the main source of transportation for our community at the time. They boycotted that for 375 days. So my question is, while we're angry, right, while we're talking about our voices need to be heard, can our voices sustain? Will your energy sustain for a minimum 375 days? Because faith without works is dead. So we can always hope and wish that it's going to turn around, but we got to put that work in. So to piggyback, it starts in November, but it's going to have to go past November.
Okay. Look, no, you were actually at my next question. My next question, because he kind of chimed in on it already, and that was, we've been experiencing this injustice in our lives, pretty much all of our lives. Do you think voting alone will solve the problem? And you were about to kind of...
It's a both. The protest does not need to stop. The voices do not need to stop. That energy needs to be translated, because we should not have to protest the deaths, but there's a lot of other systemic issues within this system of America that we try to live up to the greatest ideas of this American society, but we've utterly failed every step of the way. So the only way that's going to change is not only in the ballot box, but once you get to the ballot box and get those elected, you got to hold the electorate accountable, right? We must engage. So it's a we get distracted with social media, with housewives, with football, with I get it. But at some point, your children's future, your future, should be worth your time.
Absolutely. Why don't you chime in on that too?
The short answer.
Okay.
The short answer. Hello. Yeah, in my opinion, the short answer is attitudes reflect leadership. And when you talk about getting the movement started in November, yeah, that's just the beginning. You got to change your leadership. And we see what's going on, but we have to sit down, as the gentleman to my right said, and organize on how we're going to make these changes. And I think it starts at the top.
Absolutely.
And that's what I meant when I said we've got to get people in offices to affect change that understand, our plight and the things that we're going through. When the people were speaking earlier, I kept thinking, all of what they were saying is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. And then, but I wanted to add, it's not like we just, sat around in America with our hands out. Our forefathers built this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Their sweat and tears for free.
Absolutely.
For us, that to me doubles down on how we're being treated in this country. And the gentleman to my far right was correct when he said that if not most, a lot of things that we use, the inventions that we use, our people are the ones that did those things.
Absolutely.
So, it's time. It's beyond time.
No question. So, and since we're already there, I'll jump back here in a minute. I'll jump around. But since we're already there, we were supposed to have a city councilman from Pearland, Luke. I can't remember Luke's last name now, but Luke was supposed to be here. But we did get a text this morning. My wife sent out a text last night to him to confirm. He didn't text us back, but he did text us this morning. And, right at 9 o'clock saying he was in Austin and had a flat and some other things. Luke is a white gentleman. So I could have gotten some other, perspectives. That was my plan. And I'm gonna just keep it real, because I see things for what they are. You can't really pass a whole lot by me. I may not say things about it, but I see it for what it is. And I think personally, maybe he gotten phone calls saying, no, stay away from that. Or, the whole political thing, if you want people to continue to vote for you, stay free and this, that, and the other. But I have seen him. He's literally been here, and I consider him to be a good guy. And not saying anything else that I don't know, but what I can speak on is we have to know how to be people of character and people of our word. You know what I mean? Because the same thing with you. You told me you had some engagements out of town, but you were gonna make it back, regardless.
I drove 8 hours to get here.
Absolutely. Wow. And so I just think, and I don't want to discredit him, but I want to call it for what it is. Because at the end of the day, white folk don't really want to sit down and have this conversation. But my question is, why are we still having the conversation in this day and time anyway? When we all created equally according to the Bible, according to the Constitution. We're supposed to be all equal. So if we're all equal, and I hear people saying, well, we need to sit down, other, white folk, we need to sit down and what are we discussing that has not already been discussed? Maybe we don't need to sit down. Maybe you need to sit down and gather yourselves and come to grips with reality that everybody is created equally, regardless of the color of their skin. Now, I wanna before I move on, I want Eugene Howard, since he's the president of the NAACP, and I know I think he has relationships with Luke.
I know Luke real well.
Okay, so I want him to kind of touch in on that since he's here.
So, well, in my defense, I haven't spoken to Councilman Orlando. What I will say is, at this moment, all of us need to be accountable to our word. If we say we're going to be somewhere, we say we're going to do something, we must be about that action. Now, I can be rather assured that Mr. Orlando will make up this appearance. I almost can guarantee that he will make up this appearance, and we can have that, and maybe a one-on-one with you two with that conversation might be a way to facilitate that. But again, you can't represent people if people don't trust you. We've lost trust in our governmental entities, whether it be law enforcement, city council, school boards. So even though it could be a legitimate situation that came out, the perception of this area for the longest has been, it's always something that comes up. It's the crying wolf story. When you've heard, I'm gonna blow your house down, I'm gonna blow your house down, or I'm gonna come to your house, I'm gonna come to your house, eventually you'd be like, oh, well, he ain't coming, or they ain't coming. So it's imperative for especially those white allies. If you want to consider yourself an ally at this moment, you're going to have to kind of do some things uncomfortably. And I want to say, now I can't speak for Councilman Orlando, but I feel rather sure that he's going to do his best to rectify and facilitate a conversation that's most definitely needed, especially after this perception. It's a great opportunity for him, the church, and just us as black and white people to have that look, man, this is what it felt like. What's up? And he can be like, whatever he's gonna say. I'm not white, so I don't know how what they tokens go to, but you get it. So that's what I would say.
Absolutely, and that's okay. That's fine. But to me, I think for so long that was the excuse for white folk. I do things, but then I make up. It's almost like it's like being in a battered relationship. Like, I slap you, but then I'm sorry. If that makes sense. Because for so long we've been battered, and in this instance, it's not a physical bat, but it is. And you go ahead and chime in. I see you got something on your mind.
Well, I think that it's in a way, it's a place, it's misplaced priorities. Mm-hmm. This is a priority to us.
Absolutely.
Because it's happening to us.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the problem that white people really have when it comes to how to treat black people is they have never been forced to understand or think about what it means to be black.
Absolutely.
Everyone on this stage that has had a black mom has pretty much heard this statement. Well, you live in a white society. You gotta be able to fit in. You gotta do what you gotta do, because you live in a white America. Well, they've never been told that they live in a black America.
Absolutely.
And they have to make any concessions.
Absolutely.
Or they have to fit in.
Absolutely.
So basically, for lack of a better word, they treat us like ants.
Yeah.
If they don't have any idea what makes us tick.
Absolutely.
And if we get out of line, they just squash us, step on us, and move on to the next group of ants.
Yeah, no question.
So until they are forced to be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And like we have been our whole lives.
Absolutely.
then that's when you're going to start to see change and the change in priorities. And kind of to piggyback on you, it's got to be nonviolent, and that's what we want. We don't, it's not an eye for an eye. We're Christians.
Yeah.
But, when you listen to the Nation of Islam and you listen to Farrakhan make a statement like he made, he said, until some of them die, it's not going to, then that's when things will change.
Yeah.
And while you don't agree with violence, it is a cause for pause. And you wonder, the only people dying are us. The only people that are dying are us.
Absolutely.
So I think it's just, again, misplaced priorities.
Absolutely. Look, I want to, before I jump, I guess since we're here, let me ask, because both of you guys mentioned, I guess, what can we do on a local level to start making changes immediately? What can we do on a local level? Eugene, why don't you help me?
You got to engage with your local politicians and your local electorate. Again, your property tax, school board, your quality of life is your mayor, who hires the police chief, the mayor. So you say temperament, leadership sets the temperament. So if you have a mayor who doesn't understand the black plight, they're going to hire a police chief that wouldn't understand the black plight, and that trickles down. Versus if you have someone that can understand what grew up a certain way in the systemic society, they can understand and have more compassion, empathy, and concern about issues that don't pertain to someone that's different than their pigmentation. That's the most effective way. It's literally engaging, holding those accountable, and taking to the polls. And everyone always stresses November, but a lot of your local elections, most of except for this year because of COVID, of course, but most of your local elections are in May. Like your school board, your city council, your mayors are in May elections, and then you have your state, federal are in November. So a lot of people get caught up in the November thinking, I'm going to vote this straight ticket, even though they got rid of that because the blue wave last time. But they were thinking, I'm going to go vote the ticket, and before you know it, our community is always like, oh man, the election was last weekend. So we got to be more attentive locally and understand who our school boards are, who our city councilmen are, and our mayors and police chiefs.
Okay. So look, let me ask this question since we're here. And I'm going to include you guys here just in one moment. Because I heard you say something about, the whole releasing the policemen and all this. Do you think firing or releasing police officers alone will solve the problem that we've been facing? Do you think that alone? Voting, hold up, let me rephrase it because I want to make sure I got it. Voting and the firing of the police officers we've witnessed create these scenarios, do you think that alone will get us going in the proper direction?
No, I think voting will, but firing and no, because firing, they still get their pension, they still get their retirement, so it's like, okay, I'm done, but I'm still good. So we need to start attacking these police unions. We need to start saying, like, well, these cities have to pay lawsuits. We need to start taking that out of the police fund. And again, for the first time, if you see that these officers are charged and held for murder, maybe these other officers will start thinking, like, hey, maybe I'm not gonna let this dude put his knee on his neck because I can go to jail for murder now. So it could be a new day in that regard. So the firing, what we have to do is de-strengthen, or we need to weaken the police unions and those Mr. Overstreet can immunity that cops get when they get to this is what the case was, and they don't have to be prosecuted. And once we start taking their pocketbooks away, as they say, and start charging these people and not giving them immunity, not giving them the way out, I think our policing will get better. Because a lot of times you can see it in his look. He knew the people begged the man to get off his neck, and he didn't. That was an arrogance. It was I'm the law. I can do what the hell I want to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. Absolutely. So now if we start holding those people who feel that way accountable, those ones that were there, and they walk up on the scene and see that, hey, yo, I'm not going down for you, it starts making them police themselves.
Absolutely. So, Street, help me, because I know you're a sports agent, but you're a criminal attorney as well. So you see this on a day-to-day basis. Do you think, the same question, do you think just, I guess, getting rid of the police officers alone, or even just getting out to vote, will solve the problem? Or do we need to start holding the DAs and the judges and some of these other folk who are on the golf course, making things happen in the courtroom?
Well, it all works hand in hand, and that's what I mean by holding these people accountable. Yeah. And you have to set the tone. Absolutely. And it didn't just start now. I mean, I'm gonna take you back again. Absolutely. In the '60s when Medgar Evers was killed. Yeah. Byron DeLay Beckwith lived, I think, till he was almost 90. They finally convicted him when he had lived his whole life. And when I think about that, and I look at the video of that cop on George Floyd, yeah, the fact, again, I'm a little different. I don't look at what I hear, I look at what I see. Absolutely. And that guy rested on George Floyd's neck. The fact that people were videoing him struck absolutely no fear in his heart. Absolutely. Absolutely. He had no fear of what would happen to him. Yeah. And until you start not just charging them, but convicting them. Absolutely. Because they've been charged. Yes. So we gotta, and so again, when you speak to the DAs, prosecutors, if you don't have DAs and prosecutors that can identify what our people are going through, yeah, and that can have an open mind and look at the law for what it is. As you say, as a criminal attorney, a lot of times we have to remind the prosecutors, your job is to look for truth, right, and the law. Absolutely. Not to pick sides. Yeah. And until we can get prosecutors to come in and these people to look at it for what it is, we're going to have problems. But we have to put those people in office. Absolutely. The DAs in Fort Bend County, Brazoria County, and Harris County are voted in by us. Yes. So that's what I mean when I say it starts, with the poll. And then, like the gentleman said, we got to follow up from there and keep on keeping on. Gotcha.
So, really quick, I have to, not to distract from the discussion, today is my wife's birthday. So I want to say happy birthday to her. Got to go pick up that cake. So look, I literally do. But before that, I want to piggyback off something Pastor asked earlier, and something that he said about being held accountable and being a man of your word. Again, if I can show up on my wife's birthday in the midst of doing that, and I still got to go, and you make time for what you want to make time for. No Just question. Like I've always said, government pays for what they want to pay for. When the COVID hit, we had $2 trillion came out of nowhere, because before then we had no money to do nothing. Yeah. So now, Mr. Street brought up, thank you, sir, and thank you, Jogma. He brought up DAs, Brazoria County, Fort Bend County. So I want the audience to know that the DA in Brazoria County has resigned, and her last day is September 30th, which means it's going to be
my birthday.
Amen. So, which means there's going to be a government appointee, but that next election cycle, it is pivotal for us to elect the next Brazoria County District Attorney. Yes. To move it forward, not to talk about for or against the current DA, but this is we're at the edge of a new frontier in criminal justice reform and situations, and this is the time to organize. So I wanted to make sure the public knew to be looking out for your district attorney's race in 22.
Absolutely. Let's keep going. I want to ask you a question, Essence. Have you ever been racially profiled or experienced racism?
Yes. I don't think my mic is on. Is it on?
It's on.
One time, I was in class. My professor, I was scratching my hair, and my professor looks at me. She said, "Do you have a question, or are you scratching your weave?" And in front of the whole entire class, this is an old white lady. And it took me back, because I was like, did she ask that? It was like, did that? But then I was like, be quiet, because I don't want to have that angry black woman mentality, because me speaking up for myself makes me seem angry. So it was like, okay, I'm just going to walk out. Where are you going? To go get some sense before I say something I'm going to regret. Because you control my grade. And at the end of the day, who going to speak up for me? I'm the only black girl in this class. Who gonna say something? Like, it's your word against mine, and yeah, no. And she still works there, and she's still my professor. I have to take multiple classes with this woman. Multiple complaints have been made about her, but it's not gonna change because she's old and she's been there for a long time, and you just gotta deal with it. It's okay. She didn't mean it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I said a few moments ago. You slapped me, but then you're sorry, and I'm supposed to just forget about it.
Yeah, it's just words.
As if words don't matter.
Okay, exactly.
Right? Look, same question to you, Rayshard. Have you ever been racially profiled or even experienced racism?
Oh, absolutely. I remember being on, my grandfather gave me this 1989 Cadillac DeVille. It was my grandmother's Mary Kay vehicle. And it was sitting in his yard for a very long time. And, you know, my parents thought, like, hey, we can give it to him, you know, because I needed a car. I was back in Texas, and, you know, I needed transportation to school. So took the car, painted it, radio, you know, everything, you know. I was on campus one night at choir rehearsal, like gospel. I was a part of the gospel choir in college, at gospel choir rehearsal, and coming out, it was kind of later, like around 9 p.m. or something like that. I was parked in the student garage right across the street from the building, and you know, some of my friends, we kind of congregated outside, we're talking and things like that, and so the campus security was doing their rounds. And so here I am, I'm backing out, going around the driveway to exit out, and this white cop stops and stares at my car. Because I had 10 on it and everything, you know. We from Houston, man. I believe in a slab, you know.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I was driving out of the student parking lot, and he just stared at me. He stared at me. And in my mind, I was like, what am I doing other than being a student, leaving out a choir rehearsal, going home, about to drop a friend off, but you see my vehicle and you attach threat to what I'm driving, and that's not even who I am as a human being. And I was walking home from school. This had to be the 8th grade. I was walking home from school from basketball practice one night, and I'm just walking home. My neighborhood was right next door to my school, and I heard these white kids in this car. This is a main street, mind you. They roll down their window, and they say, "Go home, N-word." I really want to say it, but I want to be politically correct. They said, "Go home, N-word." And something, I shrunk back within myself because I didn't know how to feel. I had a fear that came over me, so I kind of started walking a little faster going home, but I tried to understand what had just happened because that had never happened to me before. Yeah. Even though I grew up within the inner city of Houston, and, you know, I'm surrounded by African-American community, we're not just going to, you know, we don't identify and just say, "Go home, N-word," you know. We wouldn't take it in that way. But to be in a predominantly white area walking home and to hear that, I was dumbfounded.
Wow. Same question for you, Andre.
Yes, I have. I was one day running, getting some exercise, and I came to this path on the normal path that I would usually take and everything, and there's this man. He just outside. I took a break. I actually reached down to just tie my shoe, and he was just standing outside, and I saw him on his phone, and I just didn't think of it, you know, people are outside, everything like that. So I continued to walk, and I'm about to start running, and then he flashes me down with this light. He's probably across the lake, everything, but he flashes me down with this light, and I'm like, okay. He said, "There's a dog right there. Be careful." I was like, oh, cool, you know, that's pretty great, you know, neighbors, everything helping out. But I saw the dog was in the gate, and so I responded, "Oh, he's in the gate. It's fine. It's perfect." So I continue to run, and then he continues to say, "Well, there's 4 cameras on you, so everybody can see what you're doing." And so it seemed to me that why take that approach to me and then hit me with a back burner like that? Like what made you think that I was gonna do something? Like out of anybody here. Yeah. There's people running, there's somebody right in front of me actually, maybe 50 yards in front of me that's running the same path. Yeah. He's been outside that whole time. Wow. And he ran that same path in front of me. Wow. And so it seemed like out of everybody that's been running, why stop me? What led you to stop me? And it's just like, I have to think about that. Wow.
Was this a white man?
It was a white man.
That was my question. Was the guy running a white guy as well?
It was a white man running in front of me as well.
Wow.
So so like I said.
Well, we know why.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's beyond me.
Wow. That's crazy. Look, we're running out of time. Look, I think we're gonna have to end up doing a part 2 of this, but because I didn't think about how much time would consume once we really start talking. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, we can talk all day about this, and because we've all had experiences. And you're an attorney, and I know you probably had some experiences.
Countless.
Yeah, and I know I have. But here's one thing I want to jump in at the end, because you are a sports agent and you deal with professional athletes, especially football players. Most of your clients are football players. So that was a quote or a video put out by who I call my guy, Drew Brees. Everybody knows I love the Saints, and man, Drew Brees made a comment. Now, I wanna let you kind of answer this because, again, I know you understand it from that area, the sports area. So let me just ask. Drew Brees said he would never respect or support someone who doesn't stand for the flag. Tell me what your thoughts is on that, and what your interpretation of what the flag means.
Well, I think that, again, his fellow players, teammates, opposing players, they came out and they said it best. When Colin Kaepernick first started this whole kneeling, 3-4 years ago, one of the first things he said is this has nothing to do with disrespecting the flag.
Absolutely.
And he didn't stop there.
Absolutely.
He laid out exactly why he was doing it.
Absolutely.
And why he was doing it is what happened to George Floyd 13 days ago.
Absolutely.
I mean, so for Drew Brees to make that statement, I think that's why it was so shocking, because everyone that saw what happened to George Floyd, and when it got to NFL players, the first thing everyone thought about is this is what Colin Kaepernick has been saying. This is why he's lost his career.
Exactly.
Okay? So that's what made it so shocking.
Yeah.
But I'm going to hearken back to what I told you a few minutes ago. White people are never forced to think about black lives.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now that Drew Brees has got all this heat, he's talked to his black teammates, some black friends, and black people in general. Truthfully, now he's been forced to think about this from a black perspective, which he's never had to do.
Absolutely.
So now I saw him write a statement to the president. He wants out of this hot seat, now, because I think he truly sees that he's made a mistake. Now, the problem is, I don't know that he can come back.
Absolutely.
From it. We're talking about George Floyd getting killed unjustly, and you're talking about what your grandfathers were fighting for the flag.
Yeah.
This is like, where have you been, man, the last 2 weeks? But again, I just really believe they're never forced to think about it from our perspective.
Absolutely. Wow. That that's good. And I think like also because I've had time to think about that. You know, the whole thing with Drew Brees and the whole flag and his grandfathers, both his grandfathers fighting, you know, in the military and all this. But what about our grandfathers and our uncles and our relatives who fought in the military, probably was more up on the front line than they were.
And came back to segregation when they got back.
Exactly.
And no GI Bill.
With no, absolutely.
Right.
So what about our grandfathers? It's like, okay, well, I'm just worried about my grandfather because we're white and this white privilege thing. But what about us? We've been exempt from the military? Absolutely not. In fact, we was forced to go to the military.
Before your grandfather was.
Before your grandfather was. and we've been forced our entire lives. So, you know, it's crazy. Look, I was so furious with this brother because of that.
And another one from the National Football League, when the head coach of the Denver Broncos steps up and says, basically, America can take a page out of the NFL's book where we don't have racism.
Absolutely.
And I thought,
crazy.
like, so does that mean there are 4 African-American coaches out of 32 that you believe that 28 of those guys were much more qualified than some African-American coaches? You know, while I said, you know, and I won't get into names, one of my close friends, right? He was a coach at a major institution. White guy is his GA. This is 10 years ago. His grad assistant. The white guy recently is now the head coach, has hired my guy who is still in the same position he was 10 years ago. Now, he learned under my guy, my friend. But again, in the mind of most white people, that's just kind of how it works, you know. We're entitled to this ascension.
No question.
And as a black person, what's a better job than working for me?
No question.
That's systemically how they think.
No question.
You know. And I've had this discussion with several coaches, and when I've said that, they've kind of paused, like, yeah, they don't think that we want to ascend, that we want to be head coaches. They think, hey, man, we have a place, and we're good at recruiting and doing certain things, and why would you want to go work somewhere else or do something different when you're working right here for me?
Absolutely. That's crazy.
You know, and that's just the prevailing view that I think a lot of them have.
No question. And they also have that law, I think my wife and I talked about, where I think they're trying to open up to allow some other coaches, because right now they have their knee on our neck, saying only so many can coach, as you just said, and it's crazy. It's one of you about to say something? Go ahead.
I think I heard that it was that instead of auditioning, I guess, one African-American quarterback, they're opening up to where there's 2.
The change in the Rooney Rule.
Okay.
I don't think they've approved it. I think they proposed making the Rooney Rule requires you in coaching and management positions to at least interview one minority person. I think they proposed to change that to 2, as well as giving you some incentive to hire African-American coaches. If you hire an African-American head coach, that you can get an additional draft pick or something like that.
But is that still not having your knee on my neck?
Right.
As a black man?
Yeah, just dangle the carrot. If you do this is what you can get.
Absolutely.
So then it goes to, are you hiring us because of our ability, or are you hiring us because
to meet your quota?
Right.
Absolutely.
You know, so and get your price of extra draft pick.
Go ahead, Andre.
It's crazy because we're now, it's formulas. We're stuck in this repeated formulas. You saying that, you know, what is it that, you know, that a black man wants to work under the white man? What were we doing in our past? Our ancestors, who were we working for? What were we doing? See, it's all about we're repeating and the repetition.
Absolutely.
And now we're seeing that. We're seeing the repetition. We've seen that back then we marched and the peaceful protests. in everything. Now that we're back here, it's saying we got to change something. You see, they say that doing something over again, expecting a different outcome, is insanity. And so now that we've seen that that's what's happening, now we're changing. Now something is clicking, saying, okay, we gotta strip this whole plan and find something else, because this isn't working. You see, it's for example, it's like little Andre goes to school and he's bad in class, and mama keeps talking to him and talking to him and talking to him, but he still acts bad in class until she knocks some sense into him and you see something change. And so sometimes, like that language you said, we got to start knocking some sense into somebody and seeing something to change differently. We got to get out of those equations. We got to get out of those formulas, out of that repetition. We got to get out of it.
I think, and just to piggyback on what he said, I think that, we as black people suffer from an issue of not really understanding our worth. Yeah. And when Roger Goodell came out and said, I think he said 78% of the league consists of African-American players. That's a thought that I've had over the years. Again, I can remember, that's the old guy. I can remember, my dad was an All-American out of high school, great football player. He couldn't go anywhere but Prairie View or TSU or an African-American school. Well, once TV and money got involved, then the top black players started going to the big schools, Alabama, Texas. My mom graduated top of her class. She loves University of Texas because that's where she wanted to go, but she couldn't to this day. But her grade, it wasn't because of her grades, it was because of the color of her skin. Absolutely. So now, these African-American athletes, they drive the NFL. No question. So that commercial they came out with was strong. It was. And once they realized there is no league without us. Absolutely. And they assert their power, NBA, just the same. Yeah. We have to assert the people that are in those positions that have the power, have to step up and say, we're not doing it anymore. Absolutely. And that's going to be another thing that helps us affect change, because they got the power. Absolutely. When I saw Patrick Mahomes on that video, I'm going to be honest. I'm a black man, and I was shocked. Because normally we don't have that kind of participation at a high level from that many people. So I was proud. It was a proud moment for me to see Deshaun Watson and some of the other guys, and that's what we got to have more of. We got to demand, what's right and what's fair.
I think, and I'm glad you said that. I think the hashtag, we need to include another hashtag demand. Because at the end of the day, until we demand some things, it's only when we're gonna get it. I mean, because if we're passive about it and we're pleading and hoping and begging and crying, no, sometimes, again, I take you back to what my mama told me. You gotta speak their language. In other words, my mama was telling me you gotta demand what you want. And so sometimes, y'all, it is what it is in the world we live in. And if the world is going to change for the better, and the world is going to change for the better, because we got some millennials who says, I'm demanding some things to change. And it just is what it is. I'm not willing to go back to second class and working for you and being your slave. I'm creating my own opportunities, and I'm starting my own business and all of these things, because they understand we will not do what our ancestors did, although they did their best, but they understand where they are now. We're in a position, we are a generation that will demand changes. And so I believe, y'all, that change is coming. I believe it's coming. I know we're out of time, y'all. We're out of time. We're going to have to do a part 2 of this, but we are out of time. I do want to say one thing, that I know we've been speaking and we've been calling white and this, but not all white folk are bad. Just like not all black folk are good. We got some good in each denomination. Not denomination, well, that too. We got some good in each culture, and we have some bad in each culture. Let me just say, the one word that we didn't get a chance to deal with today is the word pandemic. We've heard this word for the last 3 or 4 months or so, and 6 months or so. It's been prevalent in our community. But the truth of the matter is, although we keep hearing the word pandemic, what I think people ought to understand is black folk have been in a pandemic all of our lives. I don't think this thing just started. I think we were in a pandemic since they forced us onto the boats. I think we've been in a pandemic since they brought us over here unwanted. I think we've been in a pandemic when our schools were not given the same learning materials or even the teachers that were qualified to teach us. I think we're in a pandemic when they took our fathers out of the homes and sentenced them to prisons and to terms that they knew they would never return. I think we were in a pandemic when they introduced drugs to our community. I think we were in a pandemic when they put liquor stores in our community. Have you ever really seen a liquor store in the suburbs? I think, we were in a pandemic when they did that. I think we were in a pandemic when they brought AIDS to our community. Yeah, I think it was a pandemic. I think when folk allowed social injustice and financial injustice and social equality and police brutality and even government corruption and racist city managers, yes, I said it, racist city managers and even racist fire marshals with white privileges and even folk who live in communities that are white, that have white privilege. I think we as black folk have been living in a pandemic. And so you ask us, how is it that you continue to move and to thrive even in this pandemic moment? You want to know how we can keep moving and how we can keep going? The reason is because we've become immune to it. All of our lives we've lived there. And so if we've lived there and we've experienced it, it's not new to us. And so a pandemic, although we're there, we believe that God is shifting us from pandemic to promise. I believe that. I hope you believe that out there, that God is shifting us from pandemic to promise. Y'all, I'm out of time. I do want to give honor where honor is due. If you don't mind with me, wherever you are at home, and even those who are live in the studio, I want you to celebrate right now these individuals who've taken the time out to come hang out with us today. Oh my God, so happy for each of you. I'm glad we had at least a few moments to discuss some of the issues that we're facing in the world today. I think we're gonna have to try to figure out how to do a part 2 of where we are and continue the conversation so that hopefully somebody hears our voice, they hear our cry, and they're willing and ready to take their knee off our neck. I hope so. Come on, if y'all don't mind standing with me, because we're about to go home. Somebody's already logged out. They're going a little longer today. They went a little longer. It's okay. Look, we've been blessed. I hope you've been blessed. I think this conversation is going to change lives, not just here locally, not just here in our state or even our country, but all over the world. I think folk are going to listen, and they're going to hear something from each of these individuals who poured out to them on today, and their lives will become better as a result to them understanding who we are and how God has called all of us to be equal. Here's what I want y'all to do, as we do every week when we leave. I want y'all to repeat after me. This week.
This week
will be the best week.
Will be the best week
of my life.
Of my life.
I'll see you on next time.